Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface on the beta for World of Warcraft's next expansion, Legion, and this video, before I proceed, is going to contain spoilers. Spoilers are these things here, in big letters. So if you don't want to know stuff that happens with Illidan, do not watch this video. Okay, you've had your warning, can't give any more. If you're sticking around, let's get to the good stuff. So there's a quest in the game which has been unearthed, which goes through Illidan's history. And not only does it go through Illidan's history, we get to find out some pretty cool lore stuff about him, even though this is set way before we have anything to do with him. And then it goes up to the Burning Crusade and the Black Temple. So first things first, I'm going to be speaking in some parts of the video, and a lot of it is voice acted, so in other parts of the video, I'm going to keep stumm. Like right now, when we come to the very first cutscene of the game, here at the fountain.
An ancient memory stirs. When you are prepared, call to me, and together we will uncover a piece of Illidan's past.
Praise to the goddess. She has blessed us this night with new life. The birth of not one, but two healthy males.
Two?
The Stormrage twins.
Beautiful, nearly identical, except for...
That one, his eyes are golden.
Indeed. The child is destined for a great and prosperous future. His name is Illidan.
Illidan's was a life full of potential. His destiny forged in the great ordering and cast to the cosmic winds, where at last it would find a home on Azeroth. Within the tiny vessel, the great cycle began anew.
So there we get our first kind of, because we didn't actually see any baby Night Elf faces, but we kind of get our first look at baby Illidan with the golden eyes. Something that we're not used to seeing, because if you think of Illidan, a lot of us will think of him as almost half Night Elf, half Demon. The big burning green eyes, of course, because Demon Hunter, his eyes have been burnt out, whatever, sacrificed, I don't know, whichever way you want to describe it, and of course replaced by these demonic sight, which allows the Demon Hunter to do other things. But when he was a small babby, had these beautiful golden eyes, which made the priestess think that this baby was destined for greatness. And one could argue that he has done great things, they have just come at a tremendous cost. Now, one thing that we will see in this quest line is it's very back and forth. You go to your class order hall, pick up the quest, you go out to the zone, you only have a very small cutscene, and then you've got to return. Pick up another part, go back out into the world, get another small cutscene, and return. And that's what it's like for the first couple. Now, I don't have too much of a problem with this. And the reason why is the way that Legion is set up as an expansion, when you get to top level, you have, of course, all your world quests out and about, as well as Suramar and other external world things to do. So I think the game is really giving you an option here. It's saying, look, if you want to plow on with this quest line, by all means do. You're just going to have to go back and forth a wee bit. However, if you decide that you want to do a part of it and then break off, take a break, go off and do some world quests, feel free, you're out in the world, go do so. So at least it's given the player certain options to do. So I wouldn't complain that you do have to do a wee bit of back and forthing, but that will change depending on the certain quest that we're going to pick up. So let's just move this on to where our destination is, and now we're going to see a little bit of a more grown-up, not quite sure of age here, but a little bit more of a grown-up Illidan having a bit of a paddy, because that's his thing.
An ancient memory stirs. When you are prepared, Call to me, and together we will uncover a piece of Illidan's past.
Illidan, your anger is misplaced. I have not insulted you.
You have cast me out, Cenarius.
No, you may remain here, but I will no longer be your teacher. If you wish to continue studying the wilds, you may do so with your brother.
So I must learn from a novice instead of a master?
You must learn respect. Malfurion will become the first druid, because he is a dedicated student. You are not. To walk this path requires sacrifice, Illidan. Something you have yet to understand.
Brother.
Few have known such failure and rejection. Most would have given up, but Illidan would continue on, guided by the unseen hand of fate. His destiny lay elsewhere.
So there we're kind of seeing rather an arrogant Illidan, to say the least. He certainly believes himself to be of such worth that he even looks at his twin brother with contempt when Cenarius says that he will teach you from now on. He doesn't deem Malfurion his equal. He's like, you know, I need a master. I need somebody as good as I. Which is quite interesting because, of course, Cenarius then mentions about sacrifice, and this takes us to the very next part of the quest line where we get physically interactive with what happened in the past. And I have a lot to say about the next section.
An ancient memory stirs. When you are prepared, call to me, and together we will uncover a piece of Illidan's past.
Rooksguard! Send these devils back to their dark masters! For Azshara! For Kalimdor!
Sire, the Legion's disruption of our long-range teleportation network has made travel challenging.
Better late than never, eh, lad? Those of us that still draw breath fight on. Are you
Sire, behind you! Another Felmore has opened! Moonguard, focus your energies into me! We shall show these monsters the power of the arcane!
What manner of fellspawn have these devils set upon us? Mother Moon, help us all!
We require rest, Master.
Well done, Illidan. But the battle has only begun. The Legion has slain half of our forces, and scattered the rest across the grounds. What you see here is all that remains of the Rooksguard protecting the hold. To make matters worse, that monstrosity in the arena will burn the hold from the inside out if it is not stopped. Take your Moonguard, and rid Black Rook hold of this demonic invasion. You are our last hope, Illidan. Do what you must. Should Black Rook hold fall, all of Suramar will fall with it.
I will not fail you, my lord! It took nearly all of our energy to conjure that protective barrier. If I push these Moonguard any harder, they will die. If I can repair that deactivated portal, I will have the reinforcements I require, and a font of power to refresh my energy. Excellent. The power radiating from the portal will energize me, so long as I remain nearby. I must remember to return to these portals whenever I am fatigued.
At your command, Captain. At your command, Captain.
I am ready, Lord Ravencrest. Lower the portcullis.
Lower the gate and brace yourselves! Glaive throwers at the ready!
Run, little Ravencrest, run! There may still be time for you to flee and live out your final miserable days cowering in a tree somewhere.
So this is where I come back in and I can talk about all the stuff that I wanted to talk about. You start off with no abilities, which I thought was a potential bug, but it's not. You simply right-click on your mouse and you do an auto attack. And that's all that you can do at the moment. And this is where Illidan starts to learn about sacrifice. So far, he's wanted to absorb information and become the best that he can possibly be. Also, I never knew. Illidan, mage, what the fuck? But there you go. But here, we find the world in great jeopardy. This is when the Legion first invaded Azeroth. So this is going back thousands of years, I believe. This element to it. But this is the part where Illidan must make some pretty dark choices. And he realises that he's completely outclassed here by the Legion, but he does have the inner will to succeed, but the cost comes at his Moonguard. And he must siphon off not just the power that we saw at the beginning, where he managed to blast and defeat the Felmore that was in the sky, that the Fellbats were coming through and close it, and then the Moonguard needed rest. No. In this instance, to get the power he desires, he must siphon it off completely from the Moonguard, literally killing his troops to boost himself. And then when we sacrificed our first section of Moonguard troops, we gained a singular ability. The further this scenario progressed, the more chances or the more times we were forced to call upon our Moonguard for sacrificial purposes. And it's quite interesting because not all the rhetoric that comes out of their mouths is positive ones. Sometimes they're kind of saying, you know, okay, for the greater good. And then other times they're saying, Illidan, what are you doing? You're killing us. And it's quite interesting to see that conflicting narrative coming from the Moonguard itself, understanding that they have to make a sacrifice, but some of them wondering if the sacrifice is too much. And this is where we come into some very dark and murky waters, because if you think about it, I mean, if you really think about it, at the end of the day, is sacrificing a few troops. Now, although I probably kill, let's say, 20 to 30 of my Moonguard to boost me up throughout the course of this whole scenario, let's just take, for argument's sake, that in the actual narrative of the story, I'm probably sacrificing a lot more. Let's say I sacrifice a few hundred of the Moonguard to defeat the Legion and fight them off from Black Rook Hold. Is that enough? I mean, is that a justified payoff? Now, if you were to look at it in realistic terms, would say absolutely. I mean, we sent, sadly, I mean, this is a real unfortunate thing. I'm sorry to go a little bit dark on you here, people, but sadly, we do sacrifice troops today for what we essentially call the greater good. It wouldn't even be blinked about. So, with the whole world under threat from the Burning Legion, the lives of a potential few hundred Moonguard in the grand scale of things, do they really, you know, when I say matter, I don't mean their lives are meaningless, but what I mean is that sacrifice justified? I personally think it has to be, doesn't it? I mean, it's a tough choice. This isn't a touchy-feely kind of good guy, bad guy situation where we all get to get out alive and everything's hunky-dory and we have barbecue afterwards. No, this is life or death for the planet. because the Legion, and we know what the Legion are capable of ourselves. It's a horrible choice that Illidan was forced to make. It's a horrific choice that he was forced to make, but he made it. So with that said, game-wise, I need to talk about something else. And one thing that I've been really critical of with the World of Warcraft, and I'm talking through a little bit of Mists of Pandaria, and most certainly through all of Warlords of Draenor, is World of Warcraft has distinctively lost its narrative, its sense of narrative. Instead of being an MMORPG, it just seems to be an MMO with multiple people playing at one time, but there doesn't seem to be any RPG elements to it. There's no major story that we feel invested in, or when we get further contents, and I'm not playing the game, that we didn't get hardly anything in Warlords, because it's true, we hardly got anything, but when we do seem to get content over the course of the last few years, it doesn't mean anything. It just seems to be, hi, we're opening up a zone and we're just plonking various things for you to do, and there doesn't seem to be any narrative which genuinely links it together. And one thing that I am seeing a lot of in Legion, and it's making my heart just, it's so good to see, is the emphasis on narrative in Legion is just supreme. I mean, absolutely supreme. There is story everywhere. Now, you might have heard me harp on about Suramar and how absolutely amazing Suramar was, and is and continues to be. But also to have these other storyline elements, and not just quick in-out, put the kettle on ones, which we have had in the past as well, where literally the quest is no more than a couple of minutes long, if that, and doesn't really seem to drive any narrative forward. No, we have a long quest chain here with multiple parts that really give us an insight into Illidan, that really give us an insight into his mindset, that maybe cause some of the players who are either anti-Illidan or believe him to be just a bad guy, not a good guy, not a guy, but a bad guy, in this case really kind of like question those decisions that they've made themselves. Really kind of look at Illidan as a much more complex character that probably had way too much on his shoulders for him to actually be able to handle. The decisions that he had to make were horrific, and you wouldn't wish them on anybody. And to see him kind of go through that, to see him having to unfortunately make some pretty horrendous decisions for what he thought was the right thing to do, makes him even more tragic. Really kind of sets that tone that Illidan is indeed such a tragic character, and his demise at the top of the Black Temple at the end of the Burning Crusade isn't all that was cracked up to be in the Burning Crusade expansion. We literally had one bad guy, big bad guy in the Black Temple that needed to be taken out, and he was a big lore character, and that was pretty much it. But seeing this now formulate, seeing this come to pass, and it is majestic storytelling. It legitimately is so good. I was just loving every single solitary second of this quest line. It wasn't just a grin on my face, it was everything. All my senses were just focused on the screen. What is happening now? What is happening next? Where is this storyline going? Do I empathise with Illidan? Am I separating from Illidan? There were just such great questions and things to be answered here, and questions to be answered here that, just amen. So A+++++ storytelling here, and why has this been absent? And then this is the thing which just frustrates me. So whenever you see me literally get so wound up about content in the World of Warcraft, so angry, and just literally go off on one, especially when I went off on one recently about the garrison stuff, it's because I have seen what these people are capable of. I've been playing the game for 9+ years. It's longer than a lot of people, shorter than some. But I've been playing the game for 9.5 odd years now, and I have seen so many great pieces of storytelling in this game, especially in the Wrath of the Lich King expansion. I know what these people are capable of. I know what they can do when they put their minds to it, when they actually focus. And to see that kind of like talent squandered really kind of aggravated me and angered me. And then suddenly you see when they actually decide to put their brains together, when they decide to actually knuckle down and compile something legitimate, we get a thing of absolute beauty.
What have you done? You've killed them all, Illidan!
What would you have me do, Catalos? Simper and nod to our new Legion overlords as they turn our world to ash?
There is always a choice. We could have...
We could have what? You are blind, Ravencrest. You are all blind! This was one invasion. They nearly killed everyone here and took Suramar! The best any of you can do is criticize my methods. My mages died saving our world. What have you given? What have you sacrificed? You're a damned fool, Ravencrest! No matter. I've learned all I can from you. We will never defeat the Legion so long as cowards hold the reins. Farewell, and good luck. Perhaps you may fare better begging them for your lives next time.
Difficult decisions had to be made. But to understand Illidan's perspective is essential if we are to succeed in our mission. What would you have done differently?
Indeed, what a poignant ending then. You got to think about it. What would you have done differently? Was there an alternative solution to what actually happened at Black Rook Hold? I think you'd be hard-pressed to find one, to be perfectly honest with you. Okay, so that was pretty darn heavy stuff. That was brilliant lore, really kind of deep and complex. I absolutely adored it, as you can probably gather. Now we go through another monumental piece of Illidan history.
An ancient memory stirs. When you are prepared, call to me, and together we will uncover a piece of Illidan's past.
Behold the Legion's power. No matter how hard this world fights, it will fall.
Our eyes deceive us. The army that marches on Azeroth is but a whisper of the Legion's true strength. Beyond this army is another, and another, and another. Even if we defeat them here, it will mean nothing. We are doomed. Unless we find another way to fight them. And I will find that way.
Now that is very intriguing indeed, because Illidan has always been portrayed as the betrayer, somebody who actually teamed up with Sargeras for his own purposes of gaining power, and then was imprisoned for 10,000 years, creating the second Well of Eternity, yada yada yada. But because we are inside the mind of Illidan in this case, it always seemed to be a ruse. Again, maybe not the best way to go about things, but it always was a ruse to try and defeat the Legion.
When you are prepared, call to me, and together we will uncover a piece of Illidan's past.
Akama, your duplicity is hardly surprising. I should have slaughtered you and your malformed brethren long ago.
We've come to end your reign, Illidan. My people and all of Outland shall be free.
Boldly said, but I remain unconvinced.
The time has come. The moment is at hand.
You are not prepared.
So we have had all this really kind of dark and complex and shades of grey storytelling within this quest chain, and then we get to the very final part and it's farcical. But it's farcical in an amazing way, and I don't mean it in an insulting way. It's absolutely brilliant. We are, instead of fighting Illidan on top of the Black Temple, we are actually Illidan. And we are trying to fight off the raid group. And it's just so cleverly done. The markings on the ground where they're meant to be moving in the certain stages. And it actually goes through how the stages of the fight went. Yes, it kind of quickens it up a wee bit, but it goes through the various stages. And what you have to do is you've got to try and survive the assault. And you've also got to try and eliminate the 25-person raid, but it's kind of easier said than done at the moment because it's operating with all the healers doing the healing and yada 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 yada. So you should probably try and single out certain characters and whack them down, but that is kind of like irrelevant, to be perfectly honest with you, because this was just so much fun to do. Yes, we'd had all the complexity. Yes, we'd had all the darkness. Yes, we'd had all the shades of grey. And then to get this fun, nostalgic, but at the same time, fully aware of what it was trying to do. It didn't come across as corny or cheap or anything like that. Was just so well done. And again, it just kind of like hair pulling out syndrome where you just like, you have the capability to do these amazing things. And you just, you kind of like have neglected it for so long. If I was part of the team that created this, I would be so proud of my work. I'd be so happy with what I've achieved here. And, you know, from a player perspective, if you don't kind of enjoy this, especially if you were a raider during the Burning Crusade, I don't think there's anything that's going to make you happy in this game anymore, because I couldn't stop smiling, I couldn't stop giggling, I couldn't stop laughing. It was just fantastic, absolutely amazing. And then, of course, when we're up in the air here, if you're raiding, you're taking care of the glaives of Azeroth down at the bottom there. You're trying to take care of the infernals which come from it. And of course, in this instance, you are Illidan up in the air, just raining chaos down. So I've already, I think, managed to get rid of a couple of raid members. I think I've killed a couple now. Going into the third phase, this is where I became a tank. When I was raiding this back in the Burning Crusade, you'd have warlock tanks. I'd be in my shadow gear, and I'd be taking the threat. Now the game does the same, turns 2 warlocks into tanks, and we've got to annihilate both the warlocks. And I've also taken out 11 of the players. You also summon in the observer eyes, which will start to tackle other players as well. I think it roots them. I'm trying to remember the tactics from so long ago. I think it roots them in place. And the rest of the raid team has to defeat the observers, otherwise that character is completely locked out. So with the warlocks gone, there are of course the tanks in this phase. It's a matter of picking off the rest of the raid. And this is where I noticed a couple of other things which I thought was absolutely amazing.
Mortals, is this all the fury you can muster?
Their fury pales before mine, Illidan. We have some unsettled business between us.
Maiev, how is it even possible?
Ah, my long hunt is finally over. Today, justice will be done.
Now, I'm not even talking about the introduction of Maiev towards the end of the fight, where she's now throwing a glaive. It's doing pretty nasty damage to you, or will do pretty nasty damage to you, and you've got to defeat the rest of the raid in the meantime, to stop them from gunning you, of course. No, there's a couple of other beautiful little things in here which just made my heart explode. When I was dealing with the active raid members, that was all I was concentrating on. I wasn't concentrating on who I was fighting, names, or anything like that whatsoever. I was just concentrating on knocking them down. And I'd pretty much defeated the whole raid. There was only a couple of them left, I think. There was a couple at the back which just didn't seem to be moving. Number one, Johnny Awesome! Johnny Awesome makes a return back into the game, which is just absolutely fantastic. If you don't remember Johnny Awesome appeared in that amazing quest line, Welcome to the Machine, where you were on the verge of Silver Pine Forest going into Hillsbrad, where you were a quest giver and you were handing out quests to various people. So it's amazing to see Johnny Awesome back. And then when you were defeated by Maiev, of course the druids res themselves back up and try and claim the glory by attacking you from behind when you can't fight back. It's just unbefreaking-level. And again, I was just in fits of laughter at the end of that section because it just kind of epitomized perfectly raider mentality, as well as what was a nice lighter-hearted ending to this storyline, considering how deep and how dark it had actually gone during its term. So there we go, we have this amazing comprehensive storyline of Illidan and his growth and his conflict, and then culminating finally in his defeat at the top of the Black Temple. But this is the story that we already know. Of course, still to come is the story of Illidan's return, and I can't wait until that gets popped into the game. So, I really hope that you enjoyed the vid. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links, they're in the description down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.